Welcome to The Shoreline, brought to you by Shores and Islands, Ohio, where finding your Lake Erie love is a sure thing. Thank you for joining us. I am your host, Jill Bauer, PR Manager for Shores and Islands, Ohio. We bring you The Shoreline every week to give you the inside scoop on what's happening here in our island and coastal communities. Welcome back for another exciting week here on the North Coast. We've been talking a lot about upcoming events here lately, and there are a bunch, but rather than going through them all again, I will just mention how easy it is to navigate our events calendar. Just go to shoresandislands.com and click the Events tab at the top of the page. That's it. From there, you can use the sidebar to narrow down your selections by date, location, and type of event. So if you're looking for live entertainment in Vermilion for next weekend, you can do that. Do you want something to do with the kids in Marblehead today? You can do that too. Maybe you're looking ahead to next month and you want to know what fairs and festivals are happening in any community in the Shores and Islands, Ohio region. Of course, that is easy to find also. And can I just talk about fall? I know, technically, there's still 2 weeks of summer left, but the slightly cooler weather and the shorter daylight hours have got me excited about all things autumn, my absolute favorite season. Shores and Islands is home to several harvest fests, apple orchards, pumpkin patches, farm markets, and corn mazes. I am looking forward to it all. But don't forget, you can still visit our amazing islands. In fact, they host a number of fall events, and all of our fantastic attractions, most through the end of October. This is a wonderful time to come and visit. So plan your getaway by utilizing all the other tabs on our website, which of course, again, is shoresandislands.com. Of course, my favorite tab is at the top. It's called The Shoreline Podcast. That's where you can find all 80 plus episodes of this show. So if you're new here, you can go back and see who all we've talked to and about. And if you've been here for a while, thanks for coming along for the ride. We have actually just surpassed 15,000 downloads over all time, which is pretty cool. And I thank you so much for listening. Speaking of the fall season, it's also back to school season, and I think we have a pretty cool topic today that's both school-related, educational, and part of what makes this region so special. Today we're going to talk to two of the educators under the Ohio Department of Natural Resources H2Ohio Students Take Action program, educating students and the general public about wetlands and water quality. Our guests today are Emily Rugg and Martin Drobick-Hampshire, both wildlife communication specialists with ODNR. Emily got her Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science with a minor in philosophy from the University of Toledo in 2020. Prior to working for ODNR, Emily was a professional dog groomer, a zookeeper, and an overnight education programmer with the Toledo Zoo. Emily joined ODNR in 2022 as a naturalist aide at Maumee Bay State Park, where she fell in love with the naturalist programming, particularly kayaking and stand-up paddleboarding. 8 months later, Emily became a full-time naturalist for the H2Ohio program, joining the Division of Wildlife as a communications specialist, and being able to continue her work for H2Ohio is something she's incredibly grateful for and proud of. Emily currently resides in Fremont with her fiancé Michael, their cat Oliver, and dog Chloe. Our second guest today, Martin, is originally from the south coast of England, which is not too far from Southampton, and I think you'll notice it right away through the accent. He moved to Ohio in 2018 after studying in South Africa for his master's degree in ecology. Since moving to Ohio, Martin has worked for the Lake Erie Islands Nature and Wildlife Center, past guest, Erie Metro Parks, also past guest, and prior to joining the Ohio Division of Wildlife in July of 2024. Martin is an avid bird watcher and runner and lives in Sandusky with his wife Morgan, twin girls Cora and Tessa, and his dog Malibu. Oh, how cute. I love that name. So, hey guys, welcome to the Shoreline.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Well, let's start with the H2Ohio program in general. Can one of you speak a bit about its origins and what are the goals of H2Ohio?
Yeah, H2Ohio is Governor Mike DeWine's statewide water quality initiative designed to address complex issues impacting Ohio's waters, particularly the harmful algal blooms that happen in the western basin of Lake Erie. It was launched in 2019, and it uses a comprehensive approach guided by science and data to reduce algal blooms, stop pollution, improve access to clean drinking water by supporting best farming practices, road salt runoff reduction, litter cleanup, dam removal, land conservation, and water infrastructure revitalization.
Wow, there's a lot going on with that. And I'm sure that there are several different sub-projects of the H2Ohio program, but the two of you both work on a project called Students Take Action. And since we're kind of in back to school season, I thought that it was a nice tie-in to the timing. Can one of you tell me what Students Take Action is all about?
So within the Division of Wildlife, the role is to try and create these wetlands. Emily and I work for the Division of Wildlife, and while we don't ourselves help with the creation and management of wetlands, we are involved in the education portion of H2Ohio. So therefore, we are heading out throughout much of the school year to different classrooms and schools throughout Northwest and North Central Ohio to educate students about the importance of wetlands and water quality and what the goals of H2Ohio are. It's a two-step initiative. So the first step is like that in-school presentation. And then the second step of the program is that we take those students out to a wetland and kind of further that connection between the theory and what we're seeing out in nature.
I bet that you see that it probably is more meaningful to see it in person, right? Than listening to a presentation. They're probably like, yeah, okay, I get it. But then you take them out in the field, it probably clicks a little bit more.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. Whether it's a state park or a wildlife area or a local nature reserve, just seeing that wetland in person is going to be very impactful for those students.
So does the H2Ohio Students Take Action, does it fit into Ohio's learning standards through the state?
Yes, it does. The program was designed with teachers in mind. The topic and the lessons in the program correlate with the learning standards from the 6th grade through the 12th grade to help enrich the teachers' lesson plans. And there's been multiple times that I've been in schools where the students are making the connection between what their teacher has been talking to them about and what we're talking about. And it's that real life connection, real world connection that I think really helps them get in touch with it also. So if you're interested, we do have some specific learning standards highlighted here. So for high school, we hit the environmental science 5 endangered and invasive species. We also hit water pollution, surface and groundwater flow patterns and movement. For 8th graders, we hit on the diversity of species. For 6th graders, we look at soil contents, nutrient material, and weathered rock. And for 7th grade, we touch on organism survival and abiotic versus biotic factors. So we're making sure that we're being really well-rounded in our presentation and hit all of those standards for every single grade level that we interact with.
So it sounds like you can be a real asset to the classroom teacher to, kind of make the message hit home with the students. When you take them out into the field, what kind of activities do they get to participate in?
Well, it depends on the location and time of the year and the number of students that we have with us. But the kind of things that we're doing with these students are allowing them to help enhance a wetland or better understand that wetland. So some of the activities might include invasive species removal, aquatic macroinvertebrate sampling. So that's looking for different insect larvae within a wetland. It might be doing something as simple as trash and litter pickup, which can help enhance that wetland. Some teachers want to get a little bit more involved. So we've done some projects with some classrooms where we're building wood duck boxes and erecting them at a local wetland. So it really depends on what the teacher and the classroom want to get out of it and the location. And as I said, the time of the year as well.
What are some of the locations throughout the region that you take the kids to?
So we kind of travel all throughout the Lake Erie watershed, but we are targeting the Northwest. So some areas in the local Northwest area region that we utilize is Maumee Bay State Park, McGee Marsh Wildlife Area, Pipe Creek State Wildlife Area in Sandusky, the Nels Memorial Nature Preserve in Catawba, the Ottawa National Wildlife Refuge right next to McGee, Sault Ste. Creek Wildlife Area, which is also near McGee, the Mary Jane Thurston State Park even. So our programming takes us all over the state to many awesome locations.
So I also saw that you partner with a lot of other organizations to help you put on some of the program activities. Can you talk a little bit about who those partners are and what they do to help you guys with your program?
Yeah, me and Emily are just two people, and we could not provide all the programming to all these students without the help of external partners. So we're very grateful that we have worked with so many other professionals. Not only does that increase the options of programs that we can do, but it also showcases other career opportunities to these students. Mm-hmm. So we've worked with people at federal level, state level, and more local level, and universities as well. So we've worked with, say, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the Division of Parks and Watercraft, Coastal Management, Lake Erie Islands Nature and Wildlife Center. We've worked with them, and then University of Toledo and the Ohio State University, to name just a few. There are a few others as well, including like soil and water districts.
Are they coming into your field trip event to also provide different learning experiences for the kids?
Yes. So, for example, with the University of Toledo, we have them come to whatever location that our school is going to be at, and they bring their electroshocking boat, and they do a presentation on aquatic invasive species, and they do an electroshocking demonstration for the students. And that ties into what we talk about in the classroom with invasive species versus native species, and maybe kind of gets them kind of thinking about what they might not see that shouldn't necessarily be here and how it can impact the local ecosystem.
Do you have any highlights from the program since you both started working with it? What has kind of stood out to you as highlights?
Sure, I'll go first. I haven't worked in this program for as long, but last year I had a program with Delaware Area Career Center, which is outside of our target areas, but it was quite an impactful program. I was talking to two classrooms, each of about 25 to 30 students, and they were really appreciative of the presentation and even sent customized emails to me thanking me. And then it wasn't until a bit later that I found out from their teacher that each of those students did their own little mini actions. Because they were a little bit outside of our area, we didn't do a field trip with that school, but each of them went out and produced posters or did trash pickups or did other activities in their local area to try and enhance the local wetlands around them. So that was really, really rewarding to hear.
That's really cool. Emily, do you have any highlights?
I have a few. So I've been with this program since December 2022. So I'm going on 3 years with this program. And I don't know, I've had a lot of really cool experiences with these students. 3 years ago, I had a bunch of sixth graders remove 79 pounds of trash from Old Woman Creek estuary.
79 pounds?
79 pounds. Wow. And then they got to present at the Great Lakes Commission meeting that happened at Maumee Bay, not long after that. We had another group of students that removed 5 pounds worth of invasive garlic mustard from Findlay State Park a couple of years ago. And that was super cool.
That's an invasive plant?
Yes, it is. Same with this last May, we had 3 high schoolers from the Cleveland area come and remove a ton of invasive honeysuckle from the Nels Memorial Preserve. So there's just a lot of really cool opportunities for these kids to come and get hands-on experience with things. But I think my favorite highlight is similar to Martin's, where I had a student from North Ridgeville approach me a year and a half after I had been in their class. It was a separate career day event, and they told me that they were in my presentation the previous year, and it made them want to take more environmental sciences as an elective, which was really, really cool to spark that flame to want to learn more and get involved more. Is really, really rewarding.
That is very cool to see how you impact their lives and maybe change their focus. I know Martin mentioned earlier about it being a career opportunity, that maybe they don't know what working for the Division of Wildlife looks like, and to see people doing that as a career and getting to be outside and getting to be in nature and involved in things, can really inspire or make a kid take a different direction. I want to know a little bit more about the process. So you mentioned you go into the classroom classroom? Is that like a 1 day, a 1 week, a semester? Like how often are you visiting the classrooms? And then the field trip portion of it, I assume, is just 1 day.
It depends on the size of the class. Generally, it's a 1 day event. So how teachers can express their interest is on our website. If you were to search online for H2Ohio Students Take Action, you can find our webpage. And on there, teachers can basically register to sign their classroom up for the program. Then one of us will contact that teacher and try and arrange a date for us to go into that school to provide either a presentation or a series of presentations, which, as I said earlier, depends on the size of the class. Usually it's 1 day, but it can be 2 or 3 days as needed. And then following that, we then, again, correspond with that teacher about what actions they're interested in, which locations they might be able to go to, and what kind of timelines they're looking at.
So when the students come out to a place for an event, do they generally bring their lunches? Are they there for a whole day? Is it just a couple of hours? And are they the only school there, or do you sometimes have mixed programs?
It really depends on what availability the school has with bus drivers. That determines how long the day is. So we have some programs scheduled for next week where the teacher can dedicate the entire day. So he's going to arrive at 8:15 in the morning and they're leaving at 1:30 in that afternoon. And so we fill that entire day with activities pertinent to the discussions of like watersheds and biodiversity and wetlands and water quality. But then there's other teachers who they don't have that kind of freedom. They can only dedicate maybe 2 hours. So like in 2 weeks, we have another school that's coming out and they can only be with us from 12 to 2. And so we're going to pick some other activities that the teacher was interested in and do that with them in that time frame. So it really just depends on what the teacher and the school are able to do.
Do you ever have any of these programs or similar programs, maybe not with the schools, where the kids or the public actually get out on the water, like get out on Lake Erie?
Yes, we do. If the weather is right and the temperatures are right, we can take classrooms kayaking. We call it an interpretive paddle because while we're out there on the water, we're educating those people about the wildlife around us and about water quality and wetlands and H2Ohio and everything related to that. And we've sometimes done programs with students. And as I mentioned earlier about those wood duck boxes, we've erected those wood duck boxes while we're kayaking. I think we did that. It was at Findlay State Park. So yeah, we do that fairly often. And then outside the school year, throughout the summer period, we can't go into schools and we can't necessarily work with classrooms, but we do have the option of doing these interpretive paddles for the wider public. So we've had a series of them throughout the last couple of months, and we have a couple more coming up in the next week or so where we're taking adults and people of all ages out to do interpretive paddles as well.
And you provide all of the watercraft for that and life jackets and that kind of stuff?
Yes, everything is free and provided by us. All people have to do is pre-register with either myself or Martin because we can only take so many people out at a time.
Sure.
And then they just show up. We provide life jackets, whistles, the kayak, the paddle, everything essential needed to have a successful kayaking trip.
I can see that would be appealing to kind of more your city schools that aren't close to the lake. There's probably a lot of kids who've never seen a wetland, who've never been to Lake Erie, or at least been out on it and really get to experience and see it for themselves. Could completely change the trajectory of their life, I think. I think that's really cool that you guys are able to do that. Now, you mentioned that the grade levels that you support are 6 through 12. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And are there certain, just like, do they have to be a science class? Are there any other parameters for a school to be able to apply for your program?
Not really. No, I've had Latin teachers get a hold of me to come to their school. I have a history.
Oh, interesting.
For this year. It doesn't matter. We're interested in educating as many students as we can. It doesn't just have to be science teachers. It can be math teachers or extracurriculars.
I had a robotics teacher reach out to me earlier this year too. And although, yes, we're mostly targeting grades 6 to 12. I have gone into classrooms that are grades 4 and 5. We just have to alter our curriculum a little bit, alter our presentations, and we can't take them out for a field trip per se, but we might be able to do an activity in the classroom that pertains to wetlands and water quality.
That's very cool. Do you guys have any idea how many students that you've impacted with this program, or how many classrooms you've had, or how many different schools you've been to, any of those kinds of stats?
We have interacted with over 8,000 students in the classroom, and we've participated in actions with over 2,500 students with 92 distinct schools and education centers in more than 30 counties in Ohio.
That's amazing. So how do teachers get in touch with you to register their interest or to register for your program?
The easiest way is to go online, search H2Ohio Students Take Action, and then find our webpage. On the top right of that webpage is a button that says Launch, which allows them to sign up their classroom for Students Take Action. That is a form which they will fill out. It includes all their contact details, the size of their class, the age of their students, and some of the activities they're interested in. They can also put down a few dates for potential presentations, and then we will then reach out to that teacher to try and finalize something.
Well, sounds very cool. My husband is a high school vocational agriculture teacher, but they do a lot with conservation and, studying the ecosystems and the wetlands and the Lake Erie watershed. So I could see this being of interest to him. So I've got a lead for you. And I can tell him now how to find you. So that'll work out. So is there anything else to add about your program or about anything that you guys might have coming up in the future?
Yeah, something really exciting that is in the works now is creating an H2Ohio Students Take Action workbook, similar to the Project Wild and Aquatic Wild workbooks, where there are lessons and activities for the teachers to do in their classroom without needing to have one of us facilitate it. We're hoping to have that finished by next year.
Very cool. And then you'll even reach more school systems throughout the state of Ohio. That's wonderful. Well, one more time, if you could tell our listeners where they can find more information about H2Ohio Students Take Action.
Sure. Go online, search H2Ohio Students Take Action to find our webpage. That has all the information about the programs and resources related to those programs. In the top right of that page, teachers can sign up their classroom using a quick form.
Very cool. Well, thank you guys so much for chatting with me today, and I appreciate learning more about the program.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Jill.
Special thanks to Emily Rugg and Martin Drobick-Hampshire of H2O Students Take Action program through the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Division of Wildlife for joining us today. And as always, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please be sure to like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss a minute of the action here in Shores and Islands, Ohio. You can also find more information, including past episodes of the podcast, online at shoresandislands.com. And we'll see you next time on The Shoreline.